Hi, my name is Joan Leotta, but my name isn't really what's important here. I'm doing this reading today from Sharon Knutson's book. He puts on his poker face. Much of it is dedicated to her dear husband, Al, who she's holding closely in the picture. As many of you know, Al passed away this last week. And I talked with Sharon about putting some of these poems on Zoom so that you and she will have them at hand. I've also asked Jim to send out a list of some links that you can use. One, to buy the book. Two, to connect with Sharon on her blog, where she features many of us and our poems, but also she has just featured herself, and you can learn a little bit more about her and how she came to be such a wonderful writer. And thirdly, there's a GoFundMe campaign to help Sharon stay on the property that she and Al love so much, and not just because they love the property or the house, but they are very involved with supporting the wildlife in that area, and they do so much for it. But she needs help. So that's the GoFundMe campaign. And those links will be available to you, I hope, with this YouTube. And thanks to Jim Lewis. Otherwise, I'll find another way to get them all out to you. So let's begin. I've selected a few poems from her book. I'm starting with the title poem, He Puts on His Poker Face. He puts on his poker face because he is the king and I am the queen, and we have a full house. Our four of a kind, a daughter and three sons, wade knee-deep in snow and watch our three of a kind grandsons, all born a few months apart, race their snowmobiles like they used to, while our five of a kind great-grandchildren sculpt a snowman. Despite the cards we are dealt, divorce and death, we as a family will continue to multiply and win the jackpot. Yeah, these are wonderful poems. Here we go. Idaho Falls, Idaho, 1995. The ink barely dry on his divorce papers, the farmer turned real estate broker walks in the bookstore and tells me he reads a book a day and wants to swap. Then he asks me for supper at a small cafe across the river where we enjoy lobster and baked potatoes and conversation as smooth as the caffeine we sip until we see the close sign in the window and the waitresses napping in their chairs. Silver anniversary? The waitress asks as he pays the check. First date, he says. I nod and she laughs. Such jokers. Like teenagers, we are eating corn on the cob and shish kebab in the bleachers at the Blackfoot Fair as Tim McGraw sings, I like it, I love it, I want some more of it. And we drive in his white Buick to the top of the hill above the tiny toy city on the tracks. You kids go home to your folks, says the policeman with the shiny flashlight. I go home to my mother with melanoma and he to his 17-year-old son. 27 years later, mother long gone, son with kids and a wife of his own, we eat grilled chicken and green beans in Applebee's, sitting smack dab in the spot where the comfortable cafe once cuddled the riverbank. But we skip the freeway ride to the fair and pick up a DVD by Sheryl Crow and relax in the recliner in front of the DVD player and listen to her sing Every Day is a Winding Road and pretend we are seeing her in person as we revel in the landmarks of our lives. These are such wonderful poems. Here's another one about their marvelous love story. This is one of my favorites. If Hemingway wrote our love story, the sun would also rise over the superstitions, and the bulls would run across the Arizona desert, not Pamplona, Spain. And you would be healthy as your horses, and I would have flings with cowboys long before we meet under a full moon. Sipping Folgers instead of Pernod, we would stand watching through the kitchen window as two bulls charge each other and lock horns and push each other around in a cloud of dust until they limp off down the road and we go back to our business of living and loving. It's hard to stop reading this series, but I'll go to another set where she's talking about her mother and her father. My father is not himself. After he loses his balance while standing at the desk of his bookstore while changing a light bulb and falls and breaks his hip. After hardware is installed in the hospital, he is back behind the desk and recalling the plot of every bestseller on his shelves, from Sheldon to Sagan to Spillane. He entertains customers with favorite lines like, "At home with my sister and me," when he recited Wordsworth, Dickinson, and Frost, and inspires students with Shakespearean soliloquies and tragedies only a memory as he shovels through the store, straightening the spines of the books, resembling Charles Dickens in his long white hair and beard. This next one's about her mom. In fact, the next three. Mama was Queen of Hearts. Her heart was as big as the state of Montana, and her ratted hair. Definitely not Queen of Diamonds or clubs. Maybe Queen of Spades. Daddy couldn't afford diamonds, but she loved her dime store jewelry. She never joined a club because she was not a social butterfly, preferring spading her garden, doing housework, and taking care of us. I particularly love this one. Rolling pin in hand. My mother answers the door in her apron, nose powdered with flour. I recognize the voices of two senior girls. We don't get visitors this late at night, so she tells my sister and I to stay in our bedrooms while she talks to them through the screen door. The girls who snicker and taunt me at school ask me in a sugary voice, as if we are best friends. My mother asks what they want with me. It's freshman initiation, the leader of the pack says. That was banned when a freshman was paralyzed after he was pushed off the cliff by a senior, my mother says in a firm voice. The school says we can do it with permission of a parent, the girls chorus. You're not getting my permission to brutalize my child. Now go home, to bed. It's a school night. They are speechless and silent as mother closes the front door. Although my mother is usually nice and polite and smiles at strangers, when it comes to protecting her cubs, my mother is a fierce lioness. I really like that. This one too. A sapphire and an emerald. After my father dies, a gray-haired rock hunter and jeweler with grizzly beard brings my mother an emerald on a gold band and me a sapphire set in a silver band. Maybe he's got money and no survivors, I say, suggesting I should marry him when mother says, I will marry him. My jaw drops because my mother does not crack jokes. She was married to my father forever. It was the first time I realized my mother was free to marry, but she never does. And we never see the man again. But the rings are both still in her jewelry box, 2 decades after her death. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to realize that our parents are people, huh? This next one comes from a series of poems about poetry, writing poetry, and our little poetry group, the Storytellers. The first one is called The Muse Rides a Harley. The Muse rides a Harley into her driveway, just as the sky fades from tar to eggshell blue, jarring her awake like a jackhammer. Through the window, she watches him peel off his helmet and leather jacket, notices the ocean wave has receded from his hairline and sand has settled on his midriff since he disappeared. She tries to tell him she doesn't need him anymore, but he finds prepositions hanging with bath towels, misplaced metaphors in the silverware drawer, participles dangling from the balcony. Over brandy in front of the hearth, he apologizes and promises he'll never leave again. She invites him to move into the guest room. As the sky turns crimson, they discuss illusion and anthropomorphism while tossing shrimp and crab legs to the swooping gulls. As they dance to the rhythm of bat wings beating time, he whispers, alliteration and allegory. He paints bumblebees sipping nectar from long-stemmed tulip glasses on a hallway mural. Cacophony and hyperbole caterwaul as she writes under full moon and scalding sun. One day she realizes the guest room is empty. As she reads her poem and signs autographs, she expects to see him smiling in the crowd. On mountain trails and at the shore, she searches for him, but finds him in the garden, planting metaphors and similes under a turquoise sky. Good one. The Muse Speaks. Ah, all we poets love this. I've been pounding on her door, ringing her doorbell until my hands hurt. So I check to make sure the address is correct and peer through the window and recognize the poetess from her photo. The door opens and she flies past me, pushing the buttons on her remote. And as the doors unlock on her Nissan, I slip in the back seat. I sing syllables and synonyms, but she can't hear me over Sting screaming from the radio. She pulls into Starbucks, and I follow, whispering wise words in her ear. But she's too busy blabbing on her cell phone as she orders a cold brew espresso. At the park, we sit side by side on the bench, and I point to a cardinal flaming like fire, ducklings swimming in the stream, clouds swirling like sheets on the line. But she's on Facebook, posting likes, loves, and emojis. Just when I give up on her, I see her pull out her pen and notebook and scribble a line or two, and I smile and scurry off to save my next poet. Ah, yes, the Muse Tells on Us might be another name for that poem, but it's really called The Muse Speaks, and you'll find it in the middle of Sharon's book. Oh, and there's so many other wonderful ones. I can't read them all, but if you get, you'll be able to. Here we go. This one really touched my heart because it's so true. Sharon writes, I am a portrait of the women in my past. I am a portrait of the women in my past at the Zoom poetry reading as I stare at the computer screen with Grandma Anna's dark eyes and mouth words with Mama's red Revlon lips and cross the long, lanky legs of Grandma Emma. I wear Mama's pearl necklace and Anna's sensible shoes with the purple pullover of Mama-in-law Phyllis and gray slacks like Grandma Emma. That's where the similarities end. School teacher Anna's long white tresses would coil in a bun. Mama's thick auburn curls would pile high on her head. Grandma Emma's silver helmet would be short and sleek. And Phyllis's gray hair would be clipped and curled close to her face. My silver and gold hair billows down my back to my waist in waves as I recite their stories in free verse long after they've lived their lives and left legacies to me. This one is one that I was there for. I schedule a Zoom poetry reading on Super Bowl Sunday. That's the title. Realize my mistake from the messages. Sorry, nothing could stop me but football. Cooking chili at the Big Bash for hubby and the boys. Others say, I'll be there. So we don't reschedule. Then there's the last minute cancellations. My back went out. I have laryngitis. Pacemaker operation. It's like the birthday parties where you wonder if anyone will show up. And then there they are. All those faces popping up on the screen with smiles as bright as balloons. We were there. Now here's two poems that have to do with our group. Sister Poets. Our voices carry from the seaside, desert, mountains, and jungle as we write stories short and long as our names. Jane, Joan, Fran, Sarah, Donna, Tina, Judy, Lori, Mary, Holly, Kelly, Peggy, Betsy, and Robbie. Melodies musical as Marianne, Marilyn, Margaret, Mary Ellen, Rosemary, Tamara, Jacqueline, Joanne, Cynthia, and Barbara. Alliteration as lilting as Laurie, Lauren, Laura, Lynn, Lorraine, Luann, and Arlene and Angela. Language unique as Abha, Allery, Carolyn, Kavita, Wilda, Rachel, Sean, Shoshana, and Shell. Brother poets. We sisters harmonize with our brother poets, with names my parents may have chosen had they gifted me with brothers smart, funny, and talented, as Alan, Ethan, Joe, Jim, John, Gary, Martin, Mike, Neil, Paul, and Stephen. When I was a child, I dreamed of growing up in Australia, cuddling kangaroos and koala bears with a brother who reads me poetry in an Aussie accent. When Neil reads poetry as kangaroos hop outside his window, I swoon like a groupie at an Elvis concert. Yep, that's our group. Okay, here's, where are we? Yes, I don't want to forget this one. These are all such gems. Now, watch out when you do things to our poets, because Sharon writes this, and it's true for many of us. In her 60s, the poet shares secrets in a tell-all book. She confesses to sending valentines and holding clients on laps as they talk, getting hurt, heartbroken, and dumped. You fall in love, and they kick the bucket, and she may be the last to know, bumping into their loved ones at the store. It's all part of her job as a cat sitter. I stare at the fat feral cat curled up on our sun porch and am grateful for the glass that separates us. Yep. Okie dokie. Here we go now. I like this one because it speaks to the love that Sharon and Al had for the wildlife and what your contribution to the GoFundMe will help support. This one is called The Game Camera Shows Sights We Don't See. These are some of her most recent poems. A herd of javelina squinting and sniffing in the darkness like old ladies with cataracts. A diamondback dining on frog legs under the bench my husband built with his granddaughter. A roadrunner snatching a rattler and whipping it around like a lasso before swallowing it. A cougar giving birth behind the bush, cleaning her cub with her tongue. A coyote crouched behind a palo verde, jumping a jackrabbit, jogging along the trail. A mountain lion running in the rain between the wash and the road, disappearing into the dark. A hawk swooping in and scooping up a squirming squirrel as it is skybound. The feral feline dropping a dead pack rat on the porch next to his dish. the neighbors' cannibal chickens feasting on the carcass of their roasted brother. My goodness, animals everywhere. Next, we have some things getting closer here. 122. The cards I carry in my wallet show my hand. In the 1971 press pass signed by the sheriff of Los Angeles County, I smile, a young blonde covering crime for the Daily Signal in Huntington Park. With a cockatiel on my shoulder, in dark curly hair and a Colgate smile, I pose at the Wild Animal Park for the Escondido Times Advocate in the 1975 press pass. A brunette in bangs, I smile in the 1979 ID card issued by the San Diego police when I report news for the Coast Dispatch in Del Mar, Solana Beach, and Ensenadas. My photo is missing on the colorful cards I hand to clerks in Albertsons, Safeway, and Bash's, Good Apple, Borders, and Ulta as I purchase groceries, vitamins, books, and cosmetics in Idaho, California, and Arizona. There's also no photo on the Golden Age passport, which gives me a free pass to Yellowstone Park and the Grand Canyon, Medicare insurance card, and my Visa card. My headshot appears again on my 2020 Arizona driver's license in white hair and glasses. I purse red lips, wondering who will expire first, me or my driver's license. I agree. I wonder the same. In our senior years, this one is written to her husband again. In our senior years, you steady me when I shake, catch me when I stumble, stand outside the shower, handing me soap and shampoo, serve me smoothies, soup, salad, and sundaes. I act as your ears and eyes when you remove your hearing aids and glasses and go deaf and blind and sleep through the screeching smoke alarm and chorusing coyotes. When you sit up saying, "Didn't you scream my name?" I soothe you. It's just a nightmare, as your mother did. And you smile and fall back to sleep like when you were a child more than 7 decades ago. This one is for her sister Judith, who some of us have gotten to know a little bit. My sister who walks 3 miles a day. My sister who walks 3 miles a day tells me at the age, if 78, she can't walk across the floor or play with her grandsons without running out of breath. It takes her 6 months to see a cardiologist who fits her with a monitor, another 2 months to run on a treadmill. Your heart is beating too fast, the doctor diagnoses, and puts her on medication which makes her dizzy and nauseous. She makes it to her 79th birthday, and then she emails that she is having an angiogram to determine if the arteries in her heart are blocked. If so, they will insert stents. Her 84-year-old husband has stents in every artery. But her husband doesn't have our medical history. Our mother almost doesn't wake up from the anesthetic. Our father hallucinates after surgery and thinks he's being held captive and tries to jump out of a window on the 7th floor. I remember lying on an operating table in the 70s, feeling like I'm slipping under warm water as liquid drops into my veins. Someone's asking me a question, but I can't speak or move a muscle. I hear frantic voices from far away. We're losing her. I don't want to worry my sister, so I say nothing. She warns me she'll be in the hospital overnight, so I don't panic. Until 48 hours pass and no word. She's dead, I know it, I say. Her husband would tell you, mine says. The phone rings. Don't answer it. I say, it's bad news. He puts it on speaker. And when we hear the voice of my brother-in-law, we expect she is gone and go numb. Cardiologist found 2 blocked arteries and inserted stents, he says. She wants to talk to you. Her voice is strong and she's breathing better. She says she won't be able to just hit the walking trail tomorrow. I have to wear a heart monitor while I do supervised exercises. She says she was awake during some of the procedure, but sedated during the worst part. don't need to hear any more. My baby sister is alive. Okay. These last two are difficult for me to read, knowing what happened last week. But I really think you should hear them because they really speak to Sharon's heart, from Sharon's heart, really, and about how close and how deep her husband and her love is. Because love never ends. Not even death can stop love. White hair gets him waited on in Walmart. White hair gets him waited on in Walmart, my husband says, which is why he stopped dyeing his hair brown after he quit the band. Most of the checkout stands are self-serve. Since I stopped shopping, he says, as he puts away the cilantro and avocados. The clerks are so nice, they ask me if I need any help, and usually I let them bag up and ring up rather than fumble with arthritic fingers. His cart was so full today, he says, a clerk steered him to a station that handled more items. You probably remind them of their dad or grandpa, I say. He smiles and nods. I remember my last trip through Walmart. My legs collapsed, and a concerned clerk helped me to the bench, which was removed during COVID and never replaced, which is why I stay at home while he shops. And now the last one in the book. Even now, I know what I know. Even now, I know what I know about the age spots, chronic fatigue, diabetes, and hepatitis. I'd still sunbathe in the sand without sunscreen to get the copper tone tan in California, Hawaii, and Mexico. Work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day to report the news. Drink creme de cacao in Singapore slings and eat banana splits. Quit my paying job and live on my savings in San Miguel and Toronto. Because it led me to you and Arizona, where we hydrate our bodies drinking well water with the wildlife as it cascades off the rocks into the pond and off the ice down our throats. And that's the selection that I've chosen to read. There are many others in this wonderful book. You'll definitely want to have a copy for your own. Thank you, Sharon, for allowing me to read them. Thank you, Jim, for posting this to YouTube. I hope that you're also able to post the links that I'm sending along with the recording. Thanks so much, everyone, for listening. Bye-bye.